Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm going to be presenting to you my work on the fintech sector and specifically on the banking sector, which has been done by me and my co author, Dr. Dantu. This work is basically going to be talking about the scope of fintech in a developing economy like India and also all across the world, specifically in the banking sector. The most important question was, why did we pick up fintech as a topic for research? If we look at the Indian scenario, in the last 5 years post demonetization, there's been a major emphasis on reduction in cash transactions, and there has been a surge in mobile wallets, mobile payment methods, specifically UPIs or Paytms. And during the last 1 year post COVID, this industry has definitely boomed because of the massive quantum of data and transactions which have happened. Fintech definitely enhances the ease to do business because the costs reduce, and the reduced costs by most of the companies are being passed on to the customer. So for a customer, it's a win-win situation. Time gets shorter and cost gets lesser. The last 15 months have been very, very crucial in the fintech ecosystem, specifically because of the reasons which I just mentioned for point number 1 and 2. This third slide is talking about the news articles which have been published in popular press in the last 1.5 years, which are relevant to understand the growth of the fintech sector. So it's very clearly evident that the first article headlines that Indian banks' tech adoption and pace unlikely to be matched elsewhere in the world, which basically means that the banks in India are, trying to work and get abreast with the latest technology and try to make themselves more agile, more tech friendly. And definitely some of the banks in India have started calling themselves as fintech companies because of the technological aspect which they have tried to incorporate. The next article talks about winning the next normal with digital transformation, and another one talks about Indian banks betting big on data. Then we talk about these sandboxes because the regulator also is aware of the growing market. So they launch innovation sandbox web portals so that fintech companies can try their products in a controlled regulatory environment and then maybe launch them for the larger set of audience. The next one is talking about our finance minister with our finance budget, which was announced in February 2021, which says that there's a 1500 crore allocation to boost digital payments, open banking and data dividend propelling the next wave of growth in bank transformation. So, in all, if you look at these different articles and combine them together, it's clear that fintech is playing a very important role in the banking sector, and the government and the regulators are working towards making sure that the companies which are in this space are able to work cohesively and bring tangible outputs to the country and the economy. So based on what we've just discussed in slide number 1, 2 and 3, it is evident that fintech is going to play an important role in shaping the future of the banking and financial services sector in India. And it's not just in India. BFSI sector is very important for the growth of any economy, be a developed or a developing economy. So it goes without saying that fintech plays a very important role in the growth or shaping of the BFI sector all across the world. The purpose of the study is that due to the ever rising scope of fintech, it was thought important to analyze the significance of the sector. So we thought that we should try and see that something which is so important for the future, it's is it really having some value on the table right now or not. And the next one is that if you look at the past few years, the popularity of fintech has been increasing. Things could be, since I am from the Indian subcontinent, I can very well comment about the developments which happened in the Indian scenario. Things like the government wanting to reduce cash transactions and encouraging people transacting through online or cashless modes. But the advent of COVID was a universal event. It impacted each and every country, and something as big as this, which has impacted the entire global scenario for almost more than an year, for sure we can now look at the impact of fintech for the entire world and the banking sector. So we kind of thought that, if you look at the data for just 1.5 years, we might come across very lopsided results. So it made more sense for us to pick up articles over a period of time and then to see the growth of this sector over a period of time than saturating everything, the entire data set, over a period of 1.5 years and then concluding that, oh wow, fintech is definitely very important. But we wanted to see the evolution of fintech. Hence, we picked up articles and journal publications which have happened for a broader period of time. If you look at the popular verticals under fintech, we have lendings and savings. Typically, all those mechanisms where you go and you could borrow money from the market gets covered under lending, and all those processes where you could go and put money expecting a rate of return or some return on that money is basically savings. That's the first vertical. The second one is credit scores. During the process of using credit cards or going for loans, you do come across instances where there have been defaults, and all such defaults could actually have a negative impact on your credibility. The credibility of an individual is measured by a credit score, and in the fintech scenario, it's very easy for anybody to kind of get their credit scores, and also it's comfortable or convenient for the banks to look at those credit scores, evaluate the performance of an individual, and then decide whether they want to go ahead transacting with them or say no to it. The third popular vertical under fintech is wealth management. Wealth management involves all those activities where you would invest money for long term gains or long term planning. For example, if I am 20 years and I would want to have money for my children's education or for their marriage 30 years down the line, I would want to plan for it now. So that vertical is being covered under wealth management in the form of wealth tech companies, which is again a very, very significant portion of the fintech. The last one is payments. You want to make credit card payments, you want to make e-commerce payments, you would want to make payments for taxes, anything like that gets covered under the payments vertical. And all these verticals are the important verticals which we come across when we talk about the fintech sector. And since our study was focusing on the banking sector, we kind of analyzed and realized that these verticals are very relevant for any banking company as well. Talking about this study is based on the review of the extant literature, not just specifically focusing on India, but all across the world. what we did was that we picked up research articles on fintech from Web of Science and Academic Search Complete. The study is currently in progress because we are in the process of shortlisting, selecting articles which we would be using to study about the nitty-gritties of fintech and how the articles have touched upon the different aspects of fintech, specifically with regard to the banking sector. Now, when we were selecting articles, we were looking at articles which had applied fintech in the context of banking and finance. So, why banking and finance? Because, as I said, that our art study is focusing on fintech and the impact of fintech on the banking sector. So, when we were shortlisting or selecting articles from these databases, we were carefully picking up articles which had banking and finance in their title or the text. We have already done two rounds of screening. In the first round of screening of these articles, we went through all the titles and we kind of selected articles which looked relevant. Once we selected the relevant articles in the second round of screening, we read the title abstracts and we kind of saw whether these abstracts were relevant or not. And if we found those abstracts to be relevant, we downloaded the papers for those articles. And right now, we are in the process of evaluating those papers as in the detailed articles to find out what part of those would be relevant for our study and then start working on it. Methodology for the study includes two basic things. The first is that we use PRISMA approach, which is the systematic review and meta-analysis protocols to conduct this systematic review, which I just mentioned the previous slide, which is a step-by-step approach to identify the relevant articles. This is a manual review because we kind of manually read all the titles and then the abstracts and downloaded the papers to study them further. The second approach which we're going to be adopting is topic modeling. Topic modeling will be covered for the overall fintech literature. Once we have all these articles which have been shortlisted, we'll apply topic modeling to find out which of these articles are talking about fintech and the banking sector. The expected outcomes of the study are basically a framework or identifying challenges and opportunities or finding out ways or to link the performance of banking companies with regard to application of fintech. Is talking about the PRISMA approach, the manual way of selecting or shortlisting articles, which would then be subject to topic modeling for our study. So in this diagram, basically the PRISMA approach says that you initially have the complete set of data and then you eliminate duplicate entries and thereafter you screen the records, and based on that screening you would then identify the relevant ones for the study. After Prisma, the second approach which we shall be adopting is topic modeling. Topic modeling is a machine learning technique. It is not a manual technique. It will help us to automatically analyze the text data to determine the cluster words for a set of documents. In our case, the cluster words are going to be fintech and the banking sector, and the documents are going to be the articles which we have shortlisted based on the Prisma approach. The databases which were used for this study have been shown in this table. There have been a couple of databases which we kind of refer to. However, the best set of data which we arrived at, the best set of articles which we could identify using the Prisma methodology was through academic journals and journals. because most of the other databases like magazines and trade publications had smaller articles which were probably not too detailed and had some passing comment about the topic we were trying to research. But the most useful information which we have got till now is from the academic journals and the journals, and we'll be using it for topic modeling. In continuation to the previous slide about the databases which have been used, we try to make sure that the entire range of databases has been taken into consideration. However, the only challenge here was that we did not want to miss out on anything which was important and which was available on the topic. So we made sure that whatever articles are there in non-journal, non-academic journals or otherwise, or any news articles, we should be picking up all of them. So this is what we have taken. But out of all these, as I said earlier, that the journals, academic and the non-academic journals, have been the best source for our data, and we intend to run topic modeling on the articles which have been shortlisted from there. With this, I come to the end of my presentation. I thank you for sparing time to go through it, have a look at my work. And there are a few questions which I have in mind, and I would really appreciate if you could take out time to answer those questions. The first question is that you really think that there is anything else which can be added to make the study more meaningful. Since this is a literature review on the fintech sector with regard to the banking industry, you think this literature review could be made more meaningful so that the proposed objectives could be achieved better? If you have some suggestions, I would be happy to hear from you. The second question is regarding studying fintech in the banking sector with its existing products and services. In case you think that studying banking sector all across the world would be too broad, and if you have some suggestions how we could narrow it down, maybe focus on a particular aspect, a specific product or a service for the banking sector to understand the impact on the banks with regard to fintech, I would be happy to take those suggestions as well. My third question is, should the study, the findings of the study, focus on the financial performance of the banks with regard to fintech, considering this study is based on secondary data and we are only doing a literature review? Or can this study be extended as part 2 to the study to cover the financial performance on the banking sector? If yes, what are the parameters and how should we go about it? I would be happy to answer any questions if you have while you want to make your suggestions. My email ID has been given, and looking forward to hear from you. Thank you.